And I told them, hey, when you're talking to your lender, when you're getting estimates, you need to make sure that they are including the escrow account as a part of your payment. And it kind of went in one ear and out the other. And they signed everything digitally that they had to sign for the lender. And we got to the closing table. They looked at all of the numbers with the closing attorney, and the attorney said, okay, this is going to be your monthly payment. Is that what you were expecting? And they were like, whoa, that is not what I was expecting. Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there. Hey friends, welcome back. I want to talk to you about lenders. And this is going to be part one of a two-part series. We're going to hash out the consumer side of things this week. And then next week's all going to be about the realtor side, like working with lenders and having your preferred lenders and what that looks like. So today we are going to talk about the consumer side of things and why it is so important for you to start with a lender before we start the home buying process. Now, when I say this, you are still in good graces to find your preferred realtor and let them make that connection to a lender. And this is a lot of what we're going to talk about next week, but it's really important that sometimes when you can go through your preferred realtor's lender, that they typically have programs that you may need, or they know how they work really well with certain people, like whether you're a first-time home buyer or if you are a numbers person or somebody that wants to be step-by-step, right? We all have our people that we know that can handle different scenarios, okay? So this can be really important. But overall, I want to talk to you about the consumer things. I want you to look through the lens of a home buyer and think about this process, okay? So when you come to me and you say, Brittany, I am so excited and ready to buy a house, I'm going to say, great friend, have you already talked with a lender? And you're going to probably say, no, I haven't. Do I need to do that right now? And I'm going to say, yeah, you do. What's our time frame, right? So, and if our time frame is in the next 60 to 90 days, absolutely, we need to talk to a lender first. And there's a couple different reasons why. So let's talk about this. When you come to me and you say, Brittany, I think I want a 4-bedroom house, 2.5 bath, and I can spend up to $250,000. I'm going to say, okay, are you buying cash or are you getting a mortgage? And you're going to say, Brittany, I'm getting a mortgage. I don't have $250,000 cash. I'm like, great, neither do I. Now, we need to talk to a lender first and make sure that you are completely pre-approved, pre-qualified for this amount. And the reason I say pre-approved, pre-qualified, each lender can do it kind of different. Some lenders do a pre-approval up front, and then they go back through once we get under contract and do all of the pre-qualification work where they're putting it through to the underwriting and getting all of the official seals of approval. Other lenders, which I kind of prefer this way, will do it where they send it to underwriting first and get you kind of a pretty official seal of approval before we ever start looking at houses. And the reason why I like this method is because it's so much less stress. A lot of times once we get under contract, it is go time and people might be in limbo and you don't know where documentation is, or it's harder to get things done. And it just is something else to add to the stack of things that you already have going on. So the more that we can do before we get the process rolling, the better off you're going to be. And this kind of goes to say, like with education, the same. I am a talker and I'm going to talk you through this process a lot. But when we initially sit down and talk about the home buying process, I'm going to give you a lot of information and I'm going to repeat it in different forms. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to send you an email. You're going to have packets just to reiterate so that you know exactly what to expect every step of the way. This is so important because the more you know before you begin this process, the easier the whole rest of the process ends up being. It's not so scary to say, Brittany, I'm ready to put in an offer and I know that I can be here and this is what I want to do. because we've already talked about it. I've already put that idea in your head. You guys have already had those conversations behind closed doors. And then you can come back to me and confidently say, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I would like to do. And I'm going to say, that's awesome. Let's rock and roll, right? So if you come to me and say, Brittany, I really want to see this house. I think it could be the one. And you don't have a pre-approval letter. Let's play this scenario out. I take you to see the house. You fall in love with it. You're like, let's do this. What do I need to do? What's my next step? And I'm going to say, you've got to talk to a lender. And you're going to say, okay, it's a Friday night. Who can I call? What can I do? And I'm going to say, here are my contacts. But, they may not get to you until Monday. There's a lot of lenders that do work over the weekend, but there's some that work banker's hours. And to boot, if you are doing the pre-qualification where you need underwriters in the background, those underwriters certainly aren't around on the weekend like a normal lender or realtor would be. So you need to be prepared ahead of time, because when you find that house and you are ready to hit the button, I want to be ready to hit the button for you. I get just as excited as you are. And I want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row so that when it's go time, we are like lightning speed on top of it. We know what we can do, how we can do it, and we are ready to book forward. So this is super, super important, okay? Now, the other big part of it is that I am here to set expectations and help keep those expectations in line, okay? So there's a lot of different scenarios. Sometimes I have people that think, I'm going to be really close to being pre-qualified. I don't know what I can afford. And we talk to a lender and they are better or worse off than they thought. I mean, it all kind of goes back and forth, right? So when we have that gauge, then I can start looking at houses. Because if I just send you houses willy-nilly and then our bar changes, better or worse, then I have all of a sudden just wasted your time and energy and effort and mine, and set a really bad expectation that we could do X or we had to be within this box when we didn't. So it's really important for us to know exactly where we want to be. And the other part of that is there are several times that I've had clients that are approved for way more than they absolutely want to spend. One of the conversations I always have with buyers is, what do you want your monthly payment to look like? And so if you tell me, Brittany, I want my monthly payment to be $2,000 or less, I'm going to say, okay, when we talk to the lender, I'm going to reiterate that so that they know no matter what you're approved for, this is where we want to be. And they will backtrack, because the other part of this is that a mortgage is a little bit different than most loans, right? Most loans just have principal and interest, okay? A mortgage additionally has this escrow account sitting along the side here. And the escrow account is in place to basically be a savings account to pay for your insurance and your taxes every year. And the lender pays it on your behalf. So that also gets collected and is a part of your monthly bill. So if you don't know that and you're not asking about that, then you could have a couple $100 surprise that you're not expecting. And I've had this before. I've had a buyer that chose their own lender, which is perfectly fine. And I told them, hey, when you're talking to your lender, when you're getting estimates, you need to make sure that they are including the escrow account as a part of your payment. And it kind of went in one ear and out the other. And they signed everything digitally that they had to sign for the lender. And we got to the closing table. They looked at all of the numbers with the closing attorney, and the attorney said, okay, this is going to be your monthly payment. Is that what you were expecting? And they were like, whoa, that is not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be this, and it is now this. And it was like $1,100 versus like almost $1,450. It's like a $350 difference. And they were okay. We moved forward. We closed on it. They did fine. But the reality was that was not a fun surprise. Now, did they have the information they needed to make sure that they were prepared for that? Sure, but at the end of the day, my point is a lot of times that gets brushed over. You guys are getting estimates just for the principal and interest and not the escrow account. And then it is a surprise and we have to reset and say, no, I want my total payment to be under $2,000, right? So we can avoid a lot of that by setting that expectation up front and having that clear conversation with the lender. And when you allow me to make that introduction and set that standard for you, it helps. I can say it clearly. And then the lender knows that that's how I roll. Typically, that is my rule of thumb, is like, if you have a number that you want to spend, that's what we base everything off of. And then we go backwards. Okay, because if I just say go get pre-approved, then you might be pre-approved for $450. I don't want a $4,000 mortgage payment right now. I just don't. And that could be the likelihood at that price point right now. So we've got to make sure that we're working smarter, not harder. I don't want you to have to go backwards. I don't want to have to reset expectations in a negative light because we just hit the gas pedal before we were ready, okay? Now, there's a couple different things too whenever you are talking to lenders that I'm going to say you need to shop around for, okay? Usually, if we've had a good conversation, I know exactly who to get you in touch with. But I want to explain to you, just in case you decide to shop around on your own first, or, I'm not your realtor and you're somewhere else and are going through this process and need to know. So I tell my buyers, when you are talking to a lender, you need to be more comfortable with them than you are with me. I am not going to get into the icky sticky cobwebs of your financial background, your life, secret, hidden, ex-wives, whatever have you. They are. And I know that sounds like, Jerry Springer, right? But the reality is when they are going through your finances, right? If there's inconsistencies or something that has changed, they're going to question it, and you have to just honestly answer it and be able to move forward. So do not hide that you got a divorce 3 years ago and got remarried, or that you have a child and this year, I get to claim my child, next year they claim the child. You can't hide those things. It all matters and it's going to come up. So you need to be very comfortable with whoever you are talking with. And even if you are just a plain Jane simple person, all right, I don't have any crazy stories like that, but I was young once with a credit card and had to close a credit card back when I was in college, okay? Something as simple as that. If it shows up on your credit history and it's recent enough, they may say, hey, why did you have to close out this card? And what have you done to better this situation in the future? Have you made all of your other payments current? And they might ask you just for a statement saying, hey, I closed out this card because the interest was too high. I paid the balance in full and we'll move forward, right? So either way, you can't get upset or offended by that. And if you're talking to someone that you don't really mesh well with, then that tends to be exactly what happens is, why are they asking me for this? I'm not giving them that. And then you are not buying a house, my friend. So this is really important to really feel comfortable with them. And honestly, they can guide you and make sure that you are on the right path a lot better financially when you are just completely honest from the beginning. And I'll tell you my scenario when we just bought this house here in North Carolina. I called my lender, Matt, and I said, hey, Matt, surprise, we're gonna try to buy a house. And oh, by the way, I wanna buy a vehicle before the end of the year. Can I do that? So he had to, really run a couple different scenarios for us and let us know what we needed to do. And he said, I think we can make this happen. You're a little bit tight on your debt to income ratio. Is there anything that you could pay off or make go away? And I said, okay, theoretically speaking, like the most reasonable thing I can get rid of is my student loan. I have the money to be able to pay that off. That's the highest interest rate item on there. That's about the only thing I can chunk away super easily. And that was our saving grace. So that became a requirement of our loan, was for me to pay off my student loan, which whoop whoop, I no longer have any more student loans, thank goodness. And we were able to move forward. But we had all those conversations up front well before I started looking at houses, right? That way we knew exactly where we stood, because I did not want to jeopardize finding a house for the vehicle, but the vehicle was a financial move too. So it was like, what do I do here, right? So we talked through both scenarios and made sure that we knew exactly what was happening. Could it all work together? And then moved forward. So it's all important. It really is. And you need to tell them if there's other things that you're wanting to accomplish or do, because they can help structure that for you, right? And maybe in a way that you're not thinking about. So they're a great tool to utilize. And the other part is that we always need to find the lender that has the best programs for you, all right? Just like insurance companies, you know how some insurance companies only have their company that they can give you insurance quotes from. And then there's other like boutique insurance agencies that can pull from a lot of other companies and shop around the rates and get you a really good quote, okay? Same scenario here. There's some lenders that are a little bit more boxed in. There's some other lenders that have different programs. Sometimes you have to qualify, like be a qualified lender for a program. It can all vary, right? So depending on what position you are in and what you need out of a lender, then I need to have that contact. You know, we need to know, hey, I need a lender that has a really good first-time homebuyer program that's going to bring down our down payment, right? And then also, maybe I need a lender that is qualified to do some of the grant money or down payment assistance programs, whatever the case may be. Sometimes they're statewide and everybody has access to it. Other times it can be a little bit different, okay? So this is all really important to know when you're talking to a lender. So when you are shopping around, those are the two biggest things that I want you to keep in mind is one, am I super comfortable with this person? Can I tell them my whole life story and not be upset about it and give them everything they ask me for when they ask me for it? No strings attached. And then two, what am I trying to accomplish? Does the lender have the program that I need to be able to help me obtain purchasing a home? Okay. So these are really, really important steps. And I want to make sure that you know that when you are talking to a realtor and a realtor says, hey friend, I'm not showing you any houses, I'm not setting up a search until you have a pre-approval letter, it's for a reason, okay? It's not because we want to be lazy or that we don't want to help you or that we don't want to be excited and start showing you homes, because honestly, that's one of our favorite parts. We love getting to see all the houses, but we are trying to protect you and we are trying to hold a standard for you, and we want to make sure that you are as successful as possible. And the way that I can do that for you is by making sure that we take the steps in the right order to know exactly where you want to be and be able to aim for that goal. If we don't have a goal, then we're just floating through the sky, right? And I am here to make sure that you successfully get keys in your hand to a fantastic property. And by setting up the expectations in the right order and laying the foundation, we can do that successfully every time.